Facetteers, what it do, man? We back with another one. And shout out to all my subscribers, the new folks, the older folks. I call y'all the veterans, the Facetteer veterans, man. And for the folks that ain't following me on social media, you can tap into my page, That Man Marco. My food page is Mashing Up with Marco. Both of those pages are also on TikTok. And then my YouTube page is The Multifacets of DeMarcus. And so I didn't get a chance to do it in my previous episode, but I wanted to talk about how it's slipping my mind. Regrets. I wanted to talk about having regrets in life. And I'm a person that I don't have regrets. But let me preface this. So regrets come in many different forms. We have short-term, what I'll call short-term regrets, and that's what we have long-term regrets. And oftentimes we'll have these regrets because we feel as if time has passed us by and things haven't worked out in the way in which they should. We have to realize for ourselves when we talk about regrets are something that really come from within, right? Regrets are something in which, or pretty much a standard in which we hold ourselves to. And oftentimes it comes based off of what we see and the feeling that we get on not being, again, at a certain level. When I think about my life when it comes to regrets, I'm a human like anybody else. Like, I don't have long-term regrets, but I have had moments where I had short-term regrets. And that would be in the moment of a situation in which I was dealing with. There may have been times, mostly I would say for me, if it was like telling somebody something, if it was dealing with a certain woman, if it was dealing with a certain situation with friends or whatever it is, oftentimes those would be in the short term. Why? Because these are situations in which you work through and you realize as you go through life that you needed to either go through that situation or there was something else that you needed to experience in order for you to level up in a certain way. And oftentimes I feel like with regrets, the reason why people stay in that for the long term is because they're not truly leveling up. If your life is full of regrets, that means that you haven't truly either challenged yourself or you haven't truly put yourself first in leveling up, and you're waiting for life to You're waiting for life to move forward. You're just sitting there waiting, or you're allowing your life or other people to be in control of your life. And oftentimes regrets come into play because something has told you that certain areas of your life aren't moving at a certain speed. So I guess when we think about like common themes for regrets, oftentimes it comes from us feeling as if we're not living true to ourselves and pretty much living to other people's expectations. It can be from you working too much. It can be emotional expression, losing, neglecting relationships, now allowing yourself to be happier. And oftentimes these things can be triggered because of the visual. It can also be from what we hear. Especially in today's day and age, social media is a big way that causes people to have regrets. And oftentimes it's because of what we're told and the information that we're fed. Especially for our folks in our 20s, going into our 30s, people in your 30s, going into your 40s. Oftentimes you're told that, or you've seen, or you've been made to feel as if you have to have certain things at certain moments, whether that be a marriage, kids, graduating from college, have a certain amount of money. And oftentimes, even like I was talking about the imposter syndrome in my last episode, oftentimes it comes from people that ain't truly done what they're even talking about. Often people that ain't even been successful in their own right. People that have made decisions based on of them being in imposter syndrome, them dealing with life in a certain way, and them telling you that you should do that because of them just adding more years onto their life. When you realize that a lot of people have just been adding years onto their life, but not actually doing anything with it, you will really start to again, lower the imposter syndrome, but also not really feel regrets for a lot of things in your life, especially if you're someone that's taking control. When you're someone that truly takes control and you value your life, you'll realize that a lot of people, elders, they moved in fear. They moved in feeling as if things weren't going to happen if they didn't move at a certain time. They really moved in a way where they weren't in control. And that's where it comes down to a lot of regrets. When I look at my life and I look at me being 29 now, I haven't been married. I'm not going to get married anytime soon. As far as, relationship status, I'm not going to have kids anytime soon. I don't have a house. Like, I don't have regrets with none of that. Why? Because when I look at my life and the transitions that I made as an individual from the younger DeMarcus to DeMarcus now, I am so happy and thrilled. And me having a house, me being married, having kids, that's not going to help to fulfill me in any other way. Why? Because at the end of the day, I have one life to live. And so I'm not saying that I don't want all three of those things to happen. I would love for that to happen. But at the same time, that is an addition to life. Because at the end of the day, no matter what, I'm responsible for being happy for myself no matter what. I'm responsible for creating the life that I want. And oftentimes, so many people get caught up in feeling that they want those things right there and realize that they never lived for themselves one time. Imagine you rushing to have kids, rushing to have a family and everything, and you ain't never lived for yourself. You don't even know what you like. You don't even know what it feels like to be in your own space. You don't even know what it looks like to take care of just yourself. So you about to go in here and take care of other people. You don't even know what it feels like to love yourself, but you so focused on feeling love from somebody else and trying to figure out how to love another person. Look how long it took for you to understand what true love meant coming from your parents. All those times you had frustration, you and your parents would go back and forth and everything when you was a kid. Look how long it took you to understand what unconditional love meant from your parents. But you feel like that you're going to find that within a year, 30 days or whatever, just from somebody that you just met. But you searching for this thing called, you want to be loved so bad by somebody else, but you ain't never loved yourself once. And these are things that cause regrets because society has made you feel as if you got to have certain things at a certain type of moment. But the biggest person the person that you should be living truly for, the main person, is for yourself. And you should also be living for God if you're somebody that's spiritual or religious. But as far as on this earth, you should be living for yourself. And regrets come from people not taking advantage of their life, not being in control. And again, when it comes to short-term regrets, these are things that happen in the moment. You got to be able to work through situations, right? So a short-term regret can turn into a long-term regret if you're not willing to hold yourself accountable, if you're not willing to put that ego aside. Why? Because you're not willing to do the work to be able to get out of that space. Now, let's look at it like this, though. People like myself, us multifaceted individuals, us folks that care and that care for so many folks, love on so many folks and ride for so many folks. Oftentimes you have points, right, where people will be in your life. There's things in your life to where others would have regrets for, but we're not going to have regrets for. Why? Because we take accountability over here. I've had times where I've been cool with certain friends and I've had relationships with friends where they were at a certain level. I don't have any regrets on how any of those situations panned out or how any of those things have changed. Why? Because I know the love and care that I put into my friendships. I know the love and care that I put into the relationships, into women I was talking to. I have absolutely zero regrets on how any situation has panned out. I have absolutely zero regrets for any woman that I've dated in the past where it didn't move forward, anything like that. Why? Because I know for a fact in how DeMarcus not only showed up, but the intentions and the love and care that I would bring. And so knowing that I would always bring my best self and bring my authentic self, I don't have regrets because I know that I don't play with stuff like that. I know that if there's a woman that I dated, I know that based on the space that I'm in, I'm going to make a true decision based on not only just how I feel, but based on the circumstances of what I'm dealing with, based on where I'm at in my life, based on when it comes to my career, based on when it comes to proximity. Like I'm going to truly make a decision based on how this can truly elevate my life. If it's long distance, I know that that's not for me. So I'm never going to sit there and lie to a woman that's in another environment and tell her that I'm going to make this work when I know that it can't work. I'm not going to sit there and waste her time. I'm always going to be authentic up front. And if she decides to want something different because of that, that's on her at the end of the day. Because I'm not going to be someone that's going to lie and waste the time. I'm not someone that's going to make it feel like we have to have sex just for her to be a part of my life. If we just friends until it gets to a point to where we can get to that level or whatever, or if it's like, hey, we got to part ways, it is what it is. But when you make decisions and you're being responsible and you have the emotional intelligence to know what's best for your life, knowing where you're at, sometimes it's going to come with you making decisions that's truly for yourself. Oftentimes people will get into relationships. They'll be like, hey, I can't live life, I got to go ahead and date this person. I feel like I got to move to this environment or whatever because I feel like I'm never going to find anybody else. You might want to reevaluate your life unless you feel that based on you making that decision, it's a comfortable decision for you. If you feel like, hey, I want to change of environment, and you feel like, hey, based on this, like, I can make that move because I don't have anything to lose. I'm not really in an area where I don't have to, I don't have to do that. Cool. Like, there's nothing wrong if that's what you feel it is for you. But oftentimes, especially when it comes to love, when it comes to career and all that, we feel like we have to make certain decisions to make things work out of being with someone or losing this and that. But when you're in control, you're not going to feel those regrets because you know you made the right decisions for you. And even if you made a decision too fast or you made a decision that was just like that ended up not working out, if you're someone that takes accountability and control of your life, you're going to see that was just a lesson in your life. I know for a fact I'm someone that doesn't play about people in my life. So I don't feel any regrets about, again, how any relationship has panned out, how any friendship has shifted or whatever, because I know for a fact that I care and love on people so much. And I know that in those situations, one thing that I would have got caught up on is staying in a situation because of the potential. I don't need the potential. Because I also knew the growth and stuff that DeMarcus had to do. And if I would have stayed in any of those situations, I wouldn't have been able to have this growth that I have today. And the growth that I've been able to obtain today has been tremendous. Even at points where it may not be necessarily like the best success-wise. But success for me is like, man, without you even being like financially sound in a sense, mentally, you've been able to, DeMarcus, make so many transitions. You've been able to see the world in such a different way. You've been able to learn so much about yourself and hold yourself so accountable that, like, man, you're in control of your life. You're so happy because of how you've decided to be able to go about your life. And a lot of people can't say that. Again, a lot of people have made decisions because of other people, because of the potential. Now you with somebody you ain't really vibing with. Okay, somebody done showed you a few good things. They done, they done bought you some things. They done been nice to you. Now you feel as if, okay, like I done found my person, or you feel as if I gotta be cool with these people because me and these people have been cool for forever. Like, no, who's telling y'all this stuff? I know who is. Social media. People that ain't healed, that's trying to prove to other people why they should be healed. All these things, all this noise out here is trying to tell you on how to move. When you see that you're different, now you got regrets because you're moving in a way of somebody that's not even willing to do the work, but they selling you on how to do the work. How can they sell you on something they can't even do for themselves? How can they sell you on how to be able to move forward when they still stuck in being toxic on people that they've dated or people that showed up in their life that wasn't shit, but they trying to tell you that everybody in your life ain't shit? Because they done had one or two people who showed them a bad experience. And now they done treated everybody like that. But you done had some really great experiences. But now you have one or two people that showed up in your life that did something, that was a little bit off, or one or two people that snaked you. So now you turning into them when you have better results than those people. But those people are preying on to the other people that are toxic, that are negative. But you different But that goes back into the imposter syndrome, back into believing in yourself. You got to continue to believe that you're different. Again, for DeMarcus, I've had to learn. These are things I've had to learn. I challenge myself. You got AI, you got tools, you got the research online, you got people you can talk to in your community, you got all these different tools. You got to put yourself out there and talk these things out. You got to learn that, hey, just because somebody else went through this experience, they have more years on them than me, that don't mean that what they're doing is right. Nobody ever said because somebody was at their job for 30 or 40 years and stayed at the same position that they were going to get paid more just because they stayed at the same position. Or just because they stayed at the same position that they were going to get more recognition or whatever. The people that get recognized more are the ones that challenge themselves, that say, you know what? Okay, it's been a year, it's been 2 years. I'm going to put myself in a managerial position. I'm going to level up and go to a senior level of my position. I'm going to ask if there's more work that I can do. Nobody gets credit for just staying at the same position for 30, 40 years. Yeah, you might get some type of a payment and on the back end or whatever, but as far as leveling up, who just wants to say that they just did that? Now, if there's a result that comes out of that and you can utilize that for something else, okay, great. Like we're in different times now. Before I can maybe understand it, right? And I've seen people in my life where it's like, okay, that made sense, but still, it's going to get to a point to where when that's over, you got to challenge yourself in different type of ways. So same thing with life. Like, who wants to stay in one position and don't level up? But that goes into complacency. So when you've been in a position of having to stay in the same spaces, when it comes to being in control, you haven't done that, you're going to have regrets. Regrets are going to be a common theme in your life. Why do you feel regrets? Because you ain't have children, or because you ain't had a marriage yet, when you ain't even making no money for real, and you know that you're going to run into the same cycle that your parents or family members did whenever they had you or had others. Because you see people like, you got to go into taking care of somebody else's life. Embrace the time that you have with yourself. Even if you got somebody that you're dating or in a relationship with, embrace that time with them, but embrace you. You only get one life. So why would I focus so much on making sure everybody else is good, and I'm someone that has done this, or making sure that everybody else or is doing this and that, or not doing this and that, making sure that I'm taking care of all these things that don't need to be taken care of, when my life is the main thing I should be focused on. But oftentimes you're going to feel regrets because you're not challenging yourself. You're not getting out of your comfort zone. You're not going out and meeting new people. You're staying around your spouse. You're staying around the same friends that you had. You're not willing to cut things off. You're not willing to cut people off. You're not willing to change how relationships and things move. But oftentimes people that are like me, those ones that care for everybody, that always put everybody else first, oftentimes we can fall into these holes of where, if we don't actually truly take advantage of or control of our lives, we'll fall into those negative paths that we get frustrated about others. And they can be working on changing their lives and everything. Now we've got into even deeper hole than we got mad at them for, because why? Now only are we not just moving forward in our lives, but now we frustrated and mad why nothing's happening. So for us, we got to work even harder. Hey, change up how those friendships and relationships look. Go out and do things by yourself. Hey, go out and date people. Have different conversations. Learn what you like. Learn what you don't like. Figure out different ways to try to make money. Maybe try something, get a certification in something that looks a little bit different. Go through points. If you're going through points to where finances is low and you can't figure it out, I've been there. Hey, it's a bit tough for me right now. But hey, challenge yourself to get out. Challenge yourself to say, okay, what does it look like for me to take the train today and go a little bit further than I typically would versus taking the Uber? Hey, I might get on this stop right here and see what I can find out. I might have to take a longer route today, but at least I'm going to learn more going through that particular scenario than me just going with the easy route. So regrets come from you actually being in control of not having regrets comes from you actually being in control of your life, and you actually taking those steps to be able to move forward. Because even in the short term, when you have regrets, it'll stay there if you don't look at those as learning lessons and you don't switch or turn the switch in how you go about things in your life, so you'll get out of that phase. And that's what I've learned so far at 29. And so I've even talked to others in my life and elders, and they're just like, you know what? once I was able to hold myself accountable, and once I was able to realize, like, hey, like, I shouldn't have went about something this way. If I knew that I wasn't supposed to go about it in that way, but I took time to actually adjust myself and make some changes, I didn't have regrets after because I was in control. But when you stay the same and let things stay the same and you ain't making any type of changes and you expect life to just change it for you, you're going to always have regrets because you are not in control. You're not holding yourself accountable, and your ego was always going to be in the front of the pack. Your ego is always going to be in first place. When you always lead with the ego, validation and all that can creep in. Yourself is in last place. Validation, ego, low self-esteem, low confidence, low emotional intelligence. That's in first, second, third, fourth, hell, fifth. You might be in seventh and eighth place. Sixth. All those things are in front of you. But even as you're creeping up, those things are going to start to be in your rear view. But I'm only learning this at 29. But I've learned that at the times, there's been so many times I would have had a lot of regrets in my life if I wasn't able to take accountability for myself. And also remove things in my life that didn't need to be removed. You know what I'm saying? So, also, you know, even me oversharing too much. You know, me wanting people to think something. Like, imagine how many regrets I would have had if I'm talking about something and I'm trying to make everybody understand where exactly I'm coming from. We're trying to have a talking point about a situation, and I want to prove to these people over here that I wasn't talking about them. Like, if the shoe fits, the shoe fits. So now you're going to have regrets on a talking point that you had, and you're trying to clear the air with somebody that it wasn't even about because they think that it's about them. Like, look how much that your mind is bottled up. Remove all that, because then you're creating regrets that didn't even make sense to have. Now you're in your mind thinking, I got a regret for something because this person felt a type of way. I feel regretful because I lost this person, and they got mad at me when in reality this wasn't even about them. So why do I have regrets for? When that person, because of their insecurities and egos, they felt that this thing I was talking about was about them. They didn't have the nuts to come ask me. So now I've been manipulated to feel as if I should have regrets because of somebody else's insecurity. You see how that plays out too? This is where my mind goes. But somebody like myself, I had to learn to get away from that. I would have had, there's plenty of times I could have had regrets. I started to have regrets because I'm like, man, this situation ended with this person, or this situation shifted, when I realized, why would I have regrets when that person acted in ego and insecurity when I knew how I showed up? And by me leveling, and I had to learn, once I started to remove things from my life, remove situations, people, and once I started to be in control, when I started to level up, I realized that a lot of those people were still at those same spaces, and some of them were declining. So I realized, why would I have any regret when I'm the blueprint and I'm actually being in control? I would have regret staying back where I was. So that's my episode today on having regrets. Hopefully, if you're somebody that's experiencing this, you learn to just be in control, push yourself. You learn to be accountable in the way in which you experience life, and you're learning to put yourself at the forefront and not be a victim. As Eric Thomas said, be a victor. You got to be positive. You got to be someone that is moving in life as a winner. And I've been told this about myself, DeMarcus, you win. It might not be always these big accomplishments that are on a billboard and everything like that. But look at your life. You're a winner in life. Yeah, things may hurt. Things that you've experienced. You may have some low points. You're going to take L's. But like overall, not everybody can say that they win. And why you win is because you put yourself in a position to win. You hold yourself accountable, even when things may not be in your favor. If y'all want to look at, as far as ChatGPT, whenever I'm going in and asking certain questions, like I say, if you had to help explain to others about my personality and why things move forward for me, even when it seems like it doesn't, it would say, because out of most people in this world, DeMarcus, you're someone that holds yourself accountable. If you talk to friends and family, I'll say friends, if you talk to some family members, hey, DeMarcus is someone that's willing to put himself at the forefront, and he's not someone that just complains all the time, and he's not someone that just doesn't take control of his life. He's someone that does that. So this is the life of a multifaceted. This episode is on having regrets, and hopefully that you can push forward and release a lot of those that you have if you have any. So it's your boy DeMarcus. I'm out of here. Peace. Yes.